When women treat dating like a marketplace, men stop treating love like a gift. They start treating it like a contract. And once love becomes a contract, nothing feels warm anymore. Before we go deeper, hit subscribe and like the video. This is DepthRealm, where we expose the shadows so you can see the truth. For years, women have been taught to see dating as a negotiation table, as a marketplace where men compete, bid, impress, perform, and prove. They've been told their beauty is the commodity. Their attention is the currency. Their time is the prize. So they enter dating like merchants, evaluating every man like an investment, calculating every interaction like a trade, looking at relationships through the cold lens of, what can I get? Not what can I give? And what they never realized is this. Once dating becomes transactional, men stop giving freely. They stop loving freely. They stop committing freely. They stop sacrificing freely. And they start protecting themselves the way investors protect assets. They start guarding their peace the way businessmen guard capital. They start treating commitment like a legal risk, not an emotional reward. When she becomes the merchant, he becomes the lawyer. Because here's the forbidden truth no one wants to say out loud. Men only love purely when they believe the love is safe. When they believe the woman sees them as a human being, not a product. When they feel chosen, not selected. When they feel valued, not negotiated. But modern dating poisoned that. Now every man is being audited, evaluated, compared, filtered, categorized. Women treat first dates like interviews. They treat relationships like portfolios. They treat men like speculative assets. And then they ask, why don't men love deeply anymore? Because deep love cannot survive in a world where everyone is shopping for a better deal. Men used to approach relationships with open hands. Now they walk in with a shield. They used to approach connection with hope. Now they walk in with caution. They used to offer commitment. Now they offer terms and conditions. It didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, subtly, over years of watching women raise their standards while lowering their effort. Over years of watching unconditional female affection turn into conditional approval. Over years of watching romance replaced by entitlement. Over years of hearing phrases like, if he wanted to, he would. Real men provide. I'm the prize. He must earn me. And something inside men shifted. They realized the dating market wasn't a place to find love anymore. It was a place to lose value. So men adapted. And adaptation is always colder than intention. Men started asking, what's the ROI of loving this woman? What am I risking? What am I gaining? What is the long-term cost? Is she an asset or a liability? Because once women began treating themselves like luxury items, men responded the same way they do in economics. They pulled back. They conserved resources. They avoided bad investments. They protected their capital, emotional and financial. A man who feels exploited becomes strategic. A man who feels unappreciated becomes distant. A man who feels judged becomes emotionless. A man who feels he must qualify becomes selective. And a man who feels commodified becomes contractual. He stops loving openly. He stops giving freely. He stops risking everything. He becomes cautious, tactical, calculated. Not because he's cold-hearted, but because he learned the cost of naive devotion. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. There's Ethan, 32. Thought he met the one. She was beautiful, charismatic, socially adored. But she treated the relationship like a marketplace negotiation. Everything had a price. His effort was met with scoring. His gestures were graded. His commitment measured against her expectations. She kept comparing him to what other men offer. She kept shopping even while in a relationship. Eventually he stopped trying. Not because he didn't love her, but because loving her felt like bidding in an auction where the seller never intended to sell. She thought he'd chase harder. Instead, he walked away silently. Now he dates with a checklist. Not because he wants to, but because he learned the cost of loving a woman who only sees value in leverage. There's Mark. 40. Divorced. Lost almost everything in the split, the money, the house, the rhythm of life he built. He loved his wife deeply, freely, fully. But the marriage turned into constant evaluations. She compared his income to other husbands, compared his status to her friends' partners, compared his effort to imaginary men who existed only in her fantasies. She treated marriage like a resume competition. When he lost his job, she lost respect. The market dipped, so she cashed out. Now Mark trusts no one. He doesn't love with his heart. He negotiates with his mind. To him, love is a liability clause. Commitment is a legal exposure. And he's not wrong, because society taught women to see marriage as security, while men experience it as risk. There's Liam. 26. Young, ambitious, emotionally open. But every woman he met asked the same questions. What do you do? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? How much do you make? What lifestyle can you offer? They weren't asking questions about his soul, his values, his heart, his mind. They were conducting assessments. Interviews. Market research. Liam thought dating would be about connection. Instead, it felt like applying for a job he didn't want. Now he avoids relationships entirely. He invests in himself, not in romance. Not because he hates women, but because he refuses to be someone's opportunity cost. These men aren't rare. They are everywhere. Millions of men now treat love like a contract because they've learned that modern dating treats men like disposable commodities. And here's the part women don't want to hear. You cannot shop for love and expect to receive devotion. You cannot evaluate a man like a product and expect him to love you like a person. You cannot treat dating like a marketplace and still expect men to treat love like a gift. The emotional collapse begins slowly. When women start treating men like options, men stop treating women like destiny. When women choose attention over affection, men choose freedom over obligation. When women treat relationships like upgrades, men treat relationships like risks. When women commodify themselves, men devalue the entire system. And here's the psychological escalation no one talks about. Once men start treating love like a contract, women lose the one thing hypergamy depends on: male sacrifice. A woman can only climb if men are willing to lift her. But men have stopped lifting, stopped rescuing, stopped proving, stopped chasing, stopped protecting, stopped investing deeply, because the market has become too hostile, too expensive, too predatory, too unsustainable. Men aren't withdrawing from women. Men are withdrawing from exploitation. And the dating market is crumbling because of it. Women keep raising their standards while men keep raising their boundaries. Women demand more while giving less. Men offer less because they receive nothing in return. Women want commitment without reciprocity. Men want reciprocity without risk. Both sides blame each other. But the truth is simple. You cannot mix love with commerce and expect intimacy to survive. Let's go deeper. Women today are conditioned to believe that men are obligated to offer high-value behavior, financial stability, emotional intelligence, physical strength, social status, unwavering devotion. Meanwhile, modern women are taught that their mere existence, beauty, attention, youth, is enough to justify unlimited male investment. But men evolved out of that illusion. They realized they were giving premium effort for basic reciprocity. They realized they were loving women who treated them like stepping stones. They realized they were building futures with women who were still browsing for upgrades. So they stopped. And when men stop, they stop all the way. Now women complain. Men are emotionally unavailable. Men don't commit. Men avoid relationships. Men act cold. Men don't open up. But they don't realize this. Men don't open up to marketplaces, they open up to warmth. Men don't commit to consumers, they commit to partners. Men don't trust negotiators, they trust nurturers. Men don't love women who see them as opportunities. They love women who see them as humans. If dating feels broken, it's because the humanity has been stripped out and replaced with economics. Women treat dating like a business. Men respond with business tactics. Women demand emotional labor. Men audit before offering anything. Women look for high-value men. Men look for low-risk women. Women select from abundance. Men select from caution. This is the emotional recession no one wants to talk about. And here's the awakening. When a man realizes that loving a woman now requires legal, emotional, financial, and psychological liability, he withdraws his investment. He doesn't protest. He doesn't complain. He just stops playing the game. Because peace is now more valuable than intimacy. Freedom is more valuable than validation. Self-respect is more valuable than approval. Solitude is safer than romance. Women thought men would always return. Men thought women would always appreciate. Both were wrong. Because once a man sees how transactional the dating market has become, he doesn't get angry, he gets indifferent. And indifference is the death of romance. Not loud. Not explosive. Silent. Permanent. Here is the devastating final truth. When women turn dating into a marketplace, men respond by turning love into a contract. And there is no intimacy in commerce. No devotion in negotiation. No passion in evaluation. No loyalty in leverage. No romance in strategy. Just two people with calculators, pretending they're capable of love. See the pattern. Protect your energy. This is DepthRealm.